Welcome back to Reflect. I'm Tarja.
And I'm Toria.
Last week we reviewed the movie Smart House. If you haven't seen that on our channel, go check it out. Today we're going to review a more sinister movie called Case 39 that came out in 2010. So in this movie, it starts off with Emily Jenkins, and they refer to her name as Emma in the movie as well. So if I say Emma or Emily, that's the main person in the movie.
Correct.
So it starts off with her talking to a family in her office about a boy named Diego who was having fights at school. So at that point, we learn that Emma is a social worker. So Emma, she gets like these bunch of files on her desk, and one of the files is of Lily, and her parents are Margaret and Eddie. So it is in the files. It shows that it was like some child neglect going on. So she decides to go visit this home to see what's going on. So she talks to the mom first, which was Margaret, and then she hears the dad doing work in the back and tells him to come to the living room. Just the mom telling him to come to the living room and stuff.
And in this scene, I want to say that, yeah, the mom, she had to sit on the couch, but it just seems so eerie looking. How everybody seems so awkward in this scene where the dad, he like kind of away while Emma talked to the mom and stuff. And yeah, I just thought this scene just shows so much eeriness and creepiness going on.
So the mom, she basically tells the dad to come into the living room. And she just stares, and he comes in the living room, right? And he just stares at Emily all creepy, like just staring at her. He don't say one word while Emily is questioning him about the kid and what's going on, because she experienced like child neglect.
I also want to put in this moment is when, Emma, what you just said, questioning them. The Margaret, she just talked for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's what made Emily wanted him to come in to the couch and sit down and talk too. Right. Because the Margaret, she just keep talking over him and, talking for him.
So the next day, so after this visit with the family, the next day Emily tells her boss about her visit and tells him how weird it was that the dad wasn't talking and what she witnessed. Mm-hmm. So they come to the office. So the boss decided to have the parents come to the office. Maybe it'd be a different change if the boss is talking to the family. So they come to her office and they talk about how Lily was going from, so she was originally getting A's in school and then she getting D's. So they want to see what's the change up. So while Emily is at the visit, Lily, she kind of like walks off. So this gives Emily a chance to go talk to her. And so she went to go talk to her at the water fountain. And that's when she learns that Lily hates her parents.
Yeah, because Lily, when she's standing at the water, she looked like timid and scared, and she whispering to Emily in a movie that I think my parents hate me, and I think like we can see something going on in the family dynamic because there's no way that a kid went from A's to D's in a short span of time, right? And her looking so scared of her family, and
she also basically says that her parents want to send her to hell. And so basically she's basically saying her parents are evil. And then so we see a scene where Lily is watching her, so it's scene switch, so later on a little bit of the movie, we see a scene of Lily watching her dad like dig a hole in the ground. It's more like a coffin sized hole that he built in the basement, I believe it was.
Yeah, and it was nothing in the basement but this like a slab of dirt in the hole that it was digging, and it's another ominous like creepy moment in the movie as well.
So later on, we see that Emma/Emily,
she at her house.
Yeah, she at her house, and she's like, she want to go check to visit Lily, and that's when she visits her at her school.
Yeah, so we go to the next morning, right?
Yeah, it's like the next morning. She's just trying to make sure that Lily is all right after the first time she visited her. So that's when she went to her school, and she gives Lily her phone number in case anything happens that, that she want to call her about.
Yeah, just in case the parents did doing something to her, because, it's like a child neglect moment, or...
Yeah, so in case she need any help, she get her number. So later that night, Lily, she calls saying she's in trouble and scared. So she did use the number and called Emily. We see Emily racing through traffic, and she also calls her cop friend, Mike. So this is a different character we meet in the movie, is Mike. So at the same time, we see Lily's parents carrying her to the kitchen. So it kind of switched back and forth between Emily when she rushes to Lily and the parents in the house, in the kitchen, grabbing Lily. Mm-hmm. And so we see that Lily's parents like putting her into like a stove. Mind you, the stove isn't on yet, but we see like what is going on in this movie. Why is they putting their daughter into a stove and trying to light it up?
Yeah, and yeah, so we see was it the dad that was carrying her?
Yeah, the dad, he was like carrying her, and the stove was kind of big too. Like, just put a whole body in it.
I'm trying to think, was Lily even crying at this moment or screaming
No,
out?
I don't. Was she? I think she was like screaming like while she was inside the oven.
Or was she knocked out?
No, I think she was. I think she was crying.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe so.
So yeah, she's crying. Okay. And yeah, they up so what you were saying, yeah, they trying to put her in the oven. I'm guessing to bake her.
Yeah, like, 'cause I don't know. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. So Emma, she gets there in time, and as she gets there, the cops end up getting there too, and he starts fighting with the parents, and Emily, she grabs Lily out of the stove before they light it on fire. So later on, that's when Emma gets Lily out of the stove and stuff, and then the scene switches to the parents in the court room losing their custody of Lily,
as they should. Like, you see parents putting their only child in a oven, they should lose custody of their kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just nuts.
Yeah.
I thought that scene was so crazy, showing that. Like, I wanted that today, like when child get abused today and stuff. Like, that's nuts. Okay, finish.
So after they lose custody, the parents, is, they did that. Like, that's not normal to put your kid in the stove. They end up in the cycle ward. The mom and the dad, Margaret and Eddie.
I would say in the scene though, we never hear what the parents' reasoning on why they put Lily in a stove or why they so abusive to their kid. And it's the only kid they have. Like, we have seen she have no siblings, Lily, and yeah.
So after we learn about what the parents ended up, the scene switches to Lily in the hospital, basically begging Emma to come. So she begging Emma if she come stay with her and live with her and stuff. So she's so nice, but she rejects it, saying she's not a good mom. And Lily says, "You don't know that if you don't try." So Emma talks to the court about. So Emma has a change of heart later on.
Yeah, because she bonded with Lily at this point, and she feels sorry for Lily, and she know some caseworker that get so involved in the case that they want to save, and she was one, like, I consider her like, all right, caseworker in the sense that at least she's trying to go the extra mile with trying to take care of Lily, and even though she rejected at first, now she just feels some kind of bond with her.
So Emma decides to talk to the court about keeping temporary custody of Lily, and she goes and gives Lily the good news. So Emma gets...
So a little bit of side note about Emma. And I was thinking that this could be also the reason that she want to take Lily in, because when Emma, she was younger, I don't know, maybe it's in her teens. I'm not sure what period of her life it was. But Emma, her mom died in a car accident. So she know what trauma feel like. And that's how she probably could relate to Lily. Now we go back to the movie.
So later in the movie, Emma, she goes to visit Lily's home just to get her some of her stuff, like her clothes and any like toys or anything to bring to her house. So when we get into this house, it looks so nasty.
Disgusting.
It's so disgusting. It's like stains all everywhere. Like the bed was flipped over. There's like a boat on, I believe it's Lily room, since it was like toys and stuff in that room. So it's like a boat on the door.
Locks.
Yeah, locks to keep her out. And that's what we kind of...
You need to keep her in the room.
Yeah, to keep her in the room. Sorry.
And then, as you mentioned before, the basement has like all dirt and
that hole
still dug out, and it's like it looked like this child been through something, neglect and abuse in the home.
Right.
By looking at the house and the scenery, we see the decor. That's all old looking, and all the stains everywhere, and like why would you keep a kid locked up in a room?
Right. Like what's going on? What's going on? Yeah. So Lily, she gets settled in. So later on in the movie, Lily, she gets settled in and gets in
living with
Emily, and she goes to a therapy meeting with other kids, including 10-year-old Diego, which we mentioned in the beginning of the movie. So Emma, she gets a call about Diego, and Diego, I guess he killed his parents.
Yeah,
overnight.
Yeah, that was so shocking in the movie when we find out that Diego has murdered his parents. Did you say about the therapy session, right?
Yeah, so she was she was in therapy Lily.
Yeah. And Diego, he was part of this therapy session.
Yeah, kind of like a group therapy.
Yeah, it was among the kids. That's probably like during the social work cases and stuff. So it's like a bunch of kids talking about their problems. And we come out and find out the next day that Diego just killed his parents. That's crazy.
And Diego is 10 and he killed his parents. So Mike the cop that tells Emma that someone called from her residence and to Diego family the night of the murder. So basically, Diego, he got a call right before he killed his parents. So they think it was Lily who called, of course. So they asked Lily, and Lily denies it. and like kind of this creepy voice. At this point, we like, what is going on with Lily? Like, did she really call or what? So Emma went to the house with the horse's mouth, basically. Diego.
Yeah, went to the horse's mouth.
Yeah, she went to the horse's mouth. Diego, who was in the hospital. He told her that Lily did call him.
So we found out Lily was lying.
Yeah, we found out that Lily was lying. But when she called him, it was kind of like a man's voice.
So he didn't really, hear Lily's voice on the other line?
No, he didn't hear Lily's voice. It was just like a man's voice saying something to him.
Mm-hmm.
So afterwards, we see Lily talking to a therapist named Doug. Doug is played by, if you know, the actor Bradley Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's who he played by. And this could be a potential love interest for Emma. I feel like they kind of foreshadowed that Doug could be like a potential love interest for her. So he asks her. So he starts questioning Lily in this therapy session. Doug is questioning Lily in this therapy section. So he asks her, what is she scared of? And she tells him nothing at first. So she ain't got no fears.
And then I'm like, this timid girl have no fears?
Right. At this point in the movie, her behavior, her tone kind of changed. It's more like kind of grown and
confident.
Yeah, she's not as the timid girl we seen from the beginning of the movie.
Really. I'm like, what's going on? Like, her whole demeanor just changed.
Mm-hmm. So she decided to flip the questions on him and ask him what he's scared of. So he gives a story about hornets when he was a kid. So I guess when he was a kid, it was a little nest full of hornets, and he went up there to buy it, and I guess it attacked him. And so he's been frightened and traumatized ever since about the hornets. So that's why he said he's afraid of hornets. So after he told her what he was scared of, Lily, she states she only scared of herself. And then we like, why she's only scared of herself? But I guess she's explained because she has bad thoughts about him and other people.
So, but I like, in that sense, like, wouldn't you, if you was abused as a kid, like, you probably would have, like, scary thoughts in your head.
Yeah, you be scared of your parents.
Or want something bad to happen to your parents after the abuse you experienced.
Yeah, but I don't know. The way she said it was more creepy, though.
Yeah, I know.
Something else is going on. The girl the actress they got playing her, I feel like it was a good choice.
Yes.
In terms of with this movie.
Yeah. And I show a picture of how the girl looked now.
Mm-hmm. So later that night, we see Doug. He gets a phone call, but no one. When he tried to answer the phone, no one is on the other line. So he just hangs up. And then we start hearing these buzzing sounds in his ear. And as he digs in his ear, he pulled out a hornet. That was so disgusting when they showed the movie. He did. So he goes to his bathroom to check it out and see what's going on. And when he goes in there, he sees hornets coming out his eyes. It's coming out everywhere. So he came on his clothes. So he decided to take his shirt off. He tried to take his pants off, and he eventually dies from the swarm of hornets.
Actually, he hit his head on, I think, the edge of the toilet.
Yeah,
that's how he died. But I just thought it was the most gruesome scene, in a sense that, just imagine that bugs is just oozing out your mouth, nose, eyes, your ears, and then all you hear is this buzzing noise. I hate even hearing flies fly against my ear, and then just imagine 10 folds of that. It's crazy.
So later the swing switches to Emily and Lily at Doug's funeral.
Mm-hmm.
And at Doug's funeral, Lily asks Emma if she's mad at her.
Like, why would Lily, she said that like countless times throughout the movie. Like, something bad happened, like maybe when it came to Diego, or now that Doug has passed away, why would you ask, are you mad at me, like you did something?
Mm-hmm. It's like you guilty already.
Yeah, like, why is Lily asking that? And I don't know if we mentioned her Lily's age, but she looked about 10.
I think
10 or 12.
Yeah, probably around age just like Diego, because he was like 10.
Yeah.
And so Emma, she becomes even more suspicious of Lily. So she looks back at the interrogation tape they had of Lily's mom. So she Margaret, just to see what was what was going on with that family. She wanted to look deeper into it. So
I would say a criticism with that is, why would you wait this long just to look at the interrogation tapes of Lily's parents and they reasoning for how they act? And like, I just feel like if you was even though I said she was an R-rated caseworker, but at this moment, I feel like you should have went in more deeper and dig more deeper into the history of this family.
Right.
But at least they did show hindsight of Lily's parents and learning their thoughts.
So as you look at the Lily's mom tape, we learned that Lily's mom had 3 brothers and 2 sisters, and they all died in some sort of connection to Lily. They don't explain details how they died or anything like that, but we learned that Lily had some kind of connection to them dying, and that's what the mom think at least. So Emma, she decides to visit the mom at the, because she was at the psych ward. So she decided to go visit her. And we learned that she is strapped down in the psych ward. So they kind of strapped down.
To a gurney.
To like a gurney. And she's like screaming and stuff, the mom. So Emma, she decides to talk to the dad instead. And so when she starts to sit down and talk to the dad, he was willing to talk to her. And he informs her that Lily, she like to prey on people that are weaker. And he's basically insinuating that she's seeing you from a mile away. And she wanted to prey on you. And so Emma, she asks the dad what Lily wants. And he responds, she feeds on kindness and good. And Lily wants her ideal of hell. That's kind of what she
this
wants.
when we in the point of the movie when we see the supernatural or the changes in Lily, and we kind of see that she's not as innocent and timid as she appears to us in the beginning of the movie. And Emma, she also learned that Lily isn't as pure and innocent as she comes off to be, and that's why she started questioning the parents about this.
It's like maybe the parents had a point behind that. So messed up to say.
She's she becomes so Emma. At this point, we also see changes in her where she becomes scared of Lily. Like maybe it's something to how the parents would lock her up in the room, and so she had to. That's why she's doing all this investigation, and so
So Emma, she goes home after the visit with the dad. And she starts hiding cleaning supplies and the phones around the house because at this point, she's really afraid of Lily and suspicious of her. Later, Lily, she asks Emma if her mom's okay. And we like, why is she asking about Margaret, Lily? Because at this point, she didn't even know that Emma even went to go see her mom. So how does she know this?
Yes.
So Emily, she lies and said, I didn't see her. Like to Lily.
Yeah.
So the next day, Emma, she picks up Lily from therapy, and she see that Lily is whispering in one of the kids' ear, it kind of like triggered for Emily that just the same thing she did to Diego, whispering something to him when she had called. So she snatches up Lily and tries to leave and tell her they're not returning to that therapy group. So that's when we see Lily starting to repeat, "Why, Emily?" She keep repeating this over. Why, Emily?
Yeah, that's how she say. Why, Emily? Why, Emily? Why, Emily?
Which is so annoying. And so that's when we get into the elevator as she's leaving the therapy group and room, the building basically. And that's when you get into the elevator, which goes haywire.
Yeah, and Lily, she keep repeating, "Why, Emily?" as the elevator. So you could assume or think that Lily the one making this elevator go haywire.
So it starts jumping really fast and it reaches the bottom and they get out. It's like, I'll be so freaked out, like the elevator just going straight down, like really fast. So then later that night we see Emma's boarding up Lily's room. So she kind of got the same idea that she's seen at Lily's old house and stuff, that boarding up the room, maybe that is good to do.
Yeah, I just think it's the comparison of when Emma seen the room being boarded up in the beginning versus now she had to be the one that do it.
So Emma, she tries to get info. So next day she tried to get info about where's Lily's permanent placement, because at this point she only had temporary custody of Lily and she wants to get rid of her ASAP. I would be the same way. Like, I don't want this demon child with me. The boss tells her that Lily is not a priority because she's in a good home. Okay, Emily, you is a social worker, so you is like a good home, a stable home for her. So at this point, see is that that happens is a thunderstorm, and Emma wakes up and she sees her mom chasing her. Remember, Emily's mom died in a car accident, so it's kind of like the ghost of Emily's mom chasing her. And so she chased her to the street, and she runs into the street, and that's when she sees out of service bus that was going past. And she goes up to the bus driver and he tells her nothing is there. And then Emma, she decides to go to her car.
Before you finish, I just want to say that, when she run down the street, say out of service on the top of the bus.
Yeah.
And that's when Emma run up on the bus and say, do you see it? Like basically trying to get the bus driver to see that somebody's chasing her. And that's when the bus driver said that. I just want to clear that up a little bit. Go ahead.
Then Emma, she decided to go to her car because she just want to be out of the house.
Yes.
And when she get in the car, we get like a jump scare that Lily is sitting in the back.
I'm like, how did she get there?
Right. And then Lily, she threatens Emma and tells her, you're going to do whatever I say and give me whatever I want. And we see kind of like a different scenes of Lily being kind of more creepy and sinister like.
Yeah, and that's when we see the true Lily.
Mm-hmm.
No more that little innocent girl that's scared of her parents. More so, you're gonna do whatever I say.
So in these scenes we see like Emily going back to her boss, and she tells her that. So the boss tells Emily that we got an actual placement for Lily, but when she's seen the picture of how happy and good the parents look, she's like, I don't want to put anyone else through this with Lily.
And my question to you all in the comments is, if you seen that this demon child staying with you, and then they come up with another family for this child, would you just pawn them off to this new family, or would you keep Lily for yourself, even though you know she created so much havoc in your life?
Right. What would you do?
What would you do in this sense?
I wouldn't. I gotta get rid of her.
I gotta get rid of her too. Or I would just more try to get rid of myself, in the sense that
I can
do more research or a magical type.
I know, right? Did you a priest do a exorcism?
No. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so that's when we go. They switched to like the psych ward, and where Lily's parents were at, and we see that Margaret, she keep having visions of being set on fire, and so she's like kind of like spazzing out in the room, and then we also see that the dad, he eating lunch in the cafeteria, and he get in a fight with another inmate, because the inmate kind of imitates like Lily's voice, and so the dad, he gets like mad and stabs the inmate, and so as they get in this fight, the dad, he dies, right?
Yes, the dad dies from the other inmate. And we could just say that during this period with the mom, Margaret, having these visions, and the other inmate having the same voice as Lily, we could assume that it's Lily who's basically doing this and want to get rid of her birth parents, right? So the cops, they show her a tape of Lily calling Doug. So at this point, Mike, the cop and stuff, they do start to believe Emily, of that Lily is the one who is doing all this too. Cause Lily, so they see that the video, it was like a recording of Lily actually calling Doug the night that he died. Yeah.
And so this later on, the cop Mike, we see a scene of him getting chased by a dog in this kind of like parking garage setup. And when at his job, I guess he was going to his car, and he keeps seeing these visions of this dog, and he tries to shoot the dog, but it shows him shooting himself.
Yeah, because I think probably was one of Mike's fears. It was never mentioned, but I guess I keep assuming, but that he must have afraid of dogs, Mike, and instead of him being so scared, he just shot himself. So, because the dog is not really there, and that's why I end up him shooting himself, committing suicide. So this pisses, so Emily, she finds out about all this, and this pisses Emma off. So she yells at Lily. And then this is where we see the big thing. Lily starts talking like a demonic tone. So deep.
And tells her, don't yell at me. And then Emily, she like gets so freaked out. She runs to her room, and Lily chases her, breaks down the door, because Emily, she bolted herself or locked herself into a room. And Emma asks her what she wants. And she says, she told Emily that I just want someone to love me. That's what Lily's saying. Now, you may think this is sweet, but she's still like this demonic being. And she tells Emily to come tuck her in at night. Later that night, Emily, she decides to get these sleeping pills and spike Lily's drink. And so she could have Lily passed out, so she could do some type of plan to get rid of Lily. And she proceeds to burn down the house as Lily sleeps. So she stands out outside the house after the fire is going on, and she's looking at the fire. And we see the paramedic, and dun dun dun, Lily is standing outside. Right there, she didn't even die in the fire.
Yeah. So I guess Emma plan of getting rid of her failed at this point. So she was stuck with Lily. So she then drives, and Lily is basically berating Emily, saying how her mom doesn't want her. So Emma says, who are you? And the reason, she keeps berating her because she's thinking she's getting under Emma's skin and basically trying to pick on her and make her hate herself.
So Emma, she says, who are you? Like at this point, she really want to know who is this person, because you are not a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when she starts driving really fast and reckless. And this is when Lily gets scared, even though she's supposedly not supposed to be scared of anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Emily, she tells her, so Lily, she says if she's scared. She asks Emily basically if she's scared. And Emily says, no, I'm not scared. And they drive off the road into some water.
Yeah, it was like a cliff.
Yeah, like
or a highway.
Yeah, it was like a highway.
Bridge.
Yeah. And we see them in the water. And that's when Lily, we actually get to see the real face of Lily. She turns into this like grown woman, demonic being. And Lily is still in the car. But Emily, she managed to escape the car despite Lily basically tried to drag her down with her.
In the water.
Yeah, in the water. So the scene switched to Emily. She was on the pier and waiting while she hear like sirens in the background going.
And they try to do at this point where they try to have the water bubble up and make it seem like Lily wasn't dead, but we find out that Lily is dead at this point.
Yeah, because we could assume that Lily died. And so that's kind of like how the movie ended.
Yeah,
I thought it was I did like the movie actually.
I enjoyed it too because I like the progression of Lily seemed like this innocent abused victim, and then we come to find out later that she this demonic being and she just terrorizing every family she goes to. But I did definitely enjoyed it.
Yeah, and then if you want to go check it out, it is floating around the internet. It's called Case 39. And thank you so much for watching. Make sure you check out our other videos, and we'll see you next time. Bye.